Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating topic. We've pulled from quite a stack of sources, looking at extensive studies on self-made millionaires, and we're zeroing in on 10 sort of powerful traits that signal someone might be, well, maybe not born, but perhaps built to become a millionaire. Our mission, like always, is to pull out those key nuggets for you, give you a shortcut to understanding these characteristics, maybe find a few surprises too.
Yeah, and what's really compelling, I think, is that these aren't just, random points on some checklist. When you look at the bigger picture, these traits, they really point to fundamental mindsets and habits too, things that genuinely set future millionaires apart. It goes way beyond just basic money smarts. They're foundational.
Absolutely. And as we went through the sources, a pattern started to emerge, didn't it? These traits seem to fall into two main buckets, these crucial mindset shifts, and then the actions, the practices that kind of flow from that. So let's start with what's going on inside their heads, the mindset stuff. First one, thinking growth, not limits. They seem hardwired to see possibilities, not walls, asking, how can we make this work? Not just, why won't this work? What's the real difference there, practically speaking?
Well, that's where viewing setbacks as feedback, not failure, really comes in. It's huge. Think about, say, an entrepreneur whose first product totally tanks. Instead of just giving up, they dig into why. They look at the customer reactions, they iterate, they use that feedback, and maybe the next version takes off. It's like treating failure as just more data, not something final.
Interesting. Data, not defeat. Okay. And that leads into the next point the sources bring up. Questioning conventional advice. They don't just follow the crowd, do they? They seem to critically look at advice on careers, education, investing, and then choose paths based on logic, not just what everyone else is doing. How does that actually manifest?
It really boils down to first principles thinking. It's not about being contrary just for the sake of it. It's more about breaking an idea down, like right down to its basic truths and building up your strategy from there, not just accepting, well, this is how it's always done.
Yeah.
And that often means they end up being comfortable standing out. They're okay if people don't quite get them, if it means they're carving their own path. They want extraordinary results, not just fitting in.
Taking the road less traveled, literally sometimes. Okay, and the last mindset point. They don't fear risk, they manage it. They're okay with calculated risks, balancing the potential upside against the downside, having backup plans, then making the jump.
Yeah.
But is there a line? When does calculated risk become, just reckless gambling?
That's a really good question. The sources seem to suggest the difference is in that word, calculated. It means doing the homework. Rigorous planning, understanding what could go wrong, what the potential losses are, not just being blinded by the potential gains. It's about protecting the downside. And these internal shifts, they're so key because they change how these individuals see the world, see opportunities where others just see problems.
Right. So the mindset is the internal wiring. What are the actions, the actionable practices that stem from that wiring? What's the first big tangible thing that jumps out from the research?
I'd say the obsession with value creation. It's immediate. They don't just spot problems. They're actively envisioning solutions. Solutions that help people, yes, but also generate profit. Like the person who saw massive queues at a coffee shop and thought, hey, what if we had an app for ordering ahead? Solving a real problem, but at scale.
At scale. That's crucial, isn't it? Building systems that can grow, serve more people without needing linearly more of their personal effort, which naturally leads to prioritizing ownership over just selling hours. They'd rather create assets, businesses, IP, things like that can generate income more passively, equity over hourly rates.
Yeah.
So owning a slice of the pie, not just getting paid for baking it.
Exactly. And to make that work, they absolutely hate wasting time. They see time as like their most valuable, non-renewable resource. So they're ruthless about cutting out busy work, automating what they can, delegating tasks, anything to leverage their time for actual growth. So maybe think twice before that next doom scroll session.
Okay, point taken. And for them, money isn't the end goal. It's a tool. They use it strategically for leverage, for investment, to buy freedom, not really as a status symbol, always reinvesting profits, not just spending it all.
Yes, precisely. Money becomes fuel for the engine they're building. It's not just about stacking cash. And this mindset allows them to learn fast and maybe even more importantly, apply what they learn even faster. They get that knowledge alone isn't power, application is. So they test ideas, they iterate, they pivot quickly based on what the real world tells them. Learn a new marketing tactic. They don't just file it away. They run a small test campaign like tomorrow, see what happens, adjust.
Constantly tweaking the playbook.
Yep.
Okay, and the final trait. They can delay gratification. Sounds simple, but boy, is that hard for most people. What's the real differentiator here? How do they actually do it?
It comes down to a fundamental willingness to sacrifice comfort now for much bigger rewards later. Exponential returns, potentially. It means living below their means, maybe for years, plowing every spare bit of cash back into the business or investments. Instead of buying the flashy car or the big house right away, they're playing the long game, building for the future, not just for today.
So yeah, it really seems like whether it's the internal mindset or the external actions, these traits aren't isolated. They're all interconnected, weaving together to lay that groundwork for long-term financial success.
And I think this is the really empowering part. These aren't necessarily traits you have to be born with, not at all. They're skills, they're practices, things you can actively develop and strengthen over time. Knowing this stuff is good, but understanding it, internalizing it, and then applying it, that's where the real value lies.
So the big question for you listening then is, what does this all mean for you? Which one or two of these powerful traits might you focus on strengthening or start applying in your own life starting today? What could you do to dramatically increase your own chances of financial success down the road? Something to think about.